Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jazz. Today we're going to be talking about the new moon that's happening in the sign of Pisces. This is a really big one, and last night I spent 2 hours trying to make this video. And I would get about 10 minutes in and just scrap the whole thing, and for whatever reason, I couldn't get the message through. So I said, you know what? That does happen, actually, quite often. Well, not often, but more than I'd like. And I was like, all right, screw it. We're just going to do it another day. After I got ready for bed and I went to lay down, I had this feeling that the reason why the words weren't coming through was because, as I do for my videos, whenever I'm talking about a certain archetype, a certain sign, even when I do the all signs, I channel the energy of that sign. And so it takes a lot of energy from me, it takes a lot of effort. And what I realized was I was trying to articulate so many ideas, and there were myths that I wanted to talk about with the gate 37, which is where this new moon is happening in human design. And I wanted to give you guys so much information because this gate is so important globally right now, and it will be until 2027. Made a video about that already, but I plan on making a lot more videos and talking about it when it gets brought up. And so when this new moon was happening, I was looking at it for like a month, and I was like so excited to make the video about this because I wanted to take an opportunity to talk about Gate 37 and its connection to what's happening to us globally. But I didn't think about the fact that around this time we would be having a ton of Piscean energy, and that during this new moon in Pisces video, I would have to be channeling the Piscean energy, which is not logical, which is not about information, and is in fact very abstract. I had this experience about 4 years ago that was mind blowing for me. And when I explain it to you, you're not going to think it's mind blowing at all, because that's how all of these types of experiences are. In the moment that you experience them, it's so profound. And then when you go to explain to people, they're like, okay. But, I grew up always being very academic and still am, and love reading, love writing, and I love words. I'm a Gemini, right? And during this experience, something shifted really deeply inside of me, in which I realized the limitation of words. And up until that point in my life, I'd always seen words as a way to expand upon the experiences within. And yet I love Piscean and Jupiterian artists like John Steinbeck, Kurt Cobain, Rainer Maria Rilke. Those are my top 3 favorite artists in their fields. And so what these people all have in common is that, well, Kurt Cobain and John Steinbeck are Pisces. John Steinbeck's birthday is actually the 27th of February. And Rainer Maria Rilke is a Sagittarius. But what they do for me, and what they've done for me since I was young, that drew me to them so deeply, was the fact that even though I didn't recognize it at the time, is that they were able to use words to create feelings and these abstract ideas in a way that Pisces loves to do. Pisces is so dreamy and intuitive, and as I was standing there trying to make this video for Pisces and talk about the Pisces archetype, which I love so much, I have so much reverence for the Piscean archetype, and I have a lot of 12th house placements, so that's maybe why. But I couldn't get the words out. It felt like nothing was explaining, or like I said, I would say them and then I was like, no, that wasn't right. I don't know. So as I laid down to sleep, I had this idea that I wanted to write a letter to Pisces. And in writing the letter, I would encapsulate some of what this new moon is about. Of course, we're going to go into it further and we're going to talk about the details. From this experience that I had 4 years ago, since then, the inside of my mind has been like poetry. It's been abstract art and swirly lines. And then I show up in front of this camera and I somehow have to make sense of that for you guys. And it's so funny because people will tell me, oh, you're so articulate, you're so well spoken. And in my head, I think I was much more so when this style of language worked more effortlessly for me. which was before 4 years ago. And now it's a constant, how do I bring these felt sensations and these emotions out into the world in a way that people want to watch and to listen to and to understand. And so a lot of times, honestly, I don't want to show up on with my face specifically. I prefer, with all my 12th house placements, like being in the background. But the reason why I don't do that is because I feel like my facial expressions and my energy and seeing how I'm saying the words and my hand movements, which some may hate and some may love, are a way for me to bring these sensations and emotions out of me beyond the words that I say. And I'm talking about this now because I feel like it's so Piscean, and it was why I was having such a trouble with words. I mean, Mercury is currently in Pisces. Mercury is not only in its fall, but it's also in its detriment in Pisces. So people who have Mercury in Pisces may feel like this all the time. I mean, I think anyone who has 12th house or Piscean placements may feel like this, especially if it's like in your top 3 or in your personal planets. That it's like, how do I say the words to get this idea, this big abstract image out? And I talk about this a little bit about the limitation of words, and that's why a lot of people who are very creative, don't ever sit down to actually do the writing, to do the painting, to do the whatever, because you have to kill this beautiful, large idea in order to bring it down to the three-dimensional world, into the material realm. And that's heartbreaking, especially if you're a creative and an intuitive. So a lot of people tend to stay in the imagination. And we can see this with Pisceans as well. So I wrote a letter to Pisces, and I just want to read it so that you guys can get an idea of how I feel about Pisces. Obviously, there's more to it than this, but this is just something that I just sat down and wrote what came out. So, dear Pisces, dreamy, sweet, intuitive, and compassionate. Everyone knows you for being sensitive and at many times overly trusting. They may speak of your tendency to desire to escape reality and the inability to pin down your mysterious and elusive nature. This world seems too harsh for something so delicate. Some may look at you and gawk. Why can't you have a backbone? Why don't you ever stand up for yourself? You're so weak. Oh man, they couldn't be any further from the truth. You may not be able to move mountains by force, but you make the mountains dissolve back into the earth with your willingness to love when everyone else has abandoned it. The truth is, your willingness to surrender is your greatest strength, one that many may not recognize as such in this lifetime. You remind us, in the most gentle of ways, that it all ends anyways. Why don't we just love a little harder? See, you don't fool me one bit. I see the wisdom that courses through your veins. Your very existence reminds us of the power of the divine feminine. While many criticize your softness, I see it for the strength that it is. The strength that it takes to be so soft and tender in a world like this. The risk and the pain it takes to love again and again and again. Now, with this new moon, we have obviously the beginning of not just a year-long cycle or a 6-month cycle when it reaches culmination, but it is the beginning of eclipse season. And so this new moon is going to culminate in an eclipse, in a lunar eclipse in Virgo in September of this year. So whatever is began now is going to in some way come to a karmic, destined, fated fruition. So this is really big because this eclipse season on this axis, the Pisces Virgo axis, ends in 2027. What also ends in 2027 is the background frequency of the cross of planning, since we've been in since 1615, and we move into the cross of sleeping phoenix, which is a very, very different energy. So I see this as the initiation for something massive changing collectively and of course personally within us. And it's no wonder that this decan of Pisces, the first 10 degrees, is ruled by the 8 of Cups, which is an emotional realization that something is no longer working and it needs to end. And that's why in the 8 of Cups, we see him walking away from these cups. And it's a disappointment and there's a sadness to it. And he's walking away from the known and walking the path of the unknown, which is something I've been talking about a lot. When we think about the fact that Venus, Saturn, Neptune, and Mercury are all going through the end of Pisces into the beginning of Aries, and then going back into the end of Pisces and then back into the beginning of Aries, we see that the Pisces part of our chart can be really archetypally transforming in big ways. And when I say transforming, it means that something is completely ending. It doesn't have to be in this part of your chart necessarily, because you have to look at the whole birth chart. But I do think that for most of us, it is. And collectively, we are ending the age of Pisces, right? And the gate 37 in human design is called the gate of friendship. In the I Ching, it's family. In the Gene Keys, it's family alchemy. I plan on doing a video just on that, because this is what I was trying to get across last night that just was not coming out. We often say that Jesus' birthday is the 25th of December, which would make him a Capricorn. Now, I have so much love for my Capricorns. I've been with a Capricorn stellium for almost 8 years now, and I have a lot of Capricorn people in my life. But one of the things that I don't see Capricorns being is a sacrificial lamb. I do see that in Pisces, which is gate 37. And so there's actually really no way of knowing exactly when Jesus was born. There's a lot of controversy around this. And we know that a lot of holidays like Christmas and Easter and many others were actually pagan, that they then turned into these Christian holidays. A lot of astrologers think that Jesus was actually Pisces, and I tend to believe that as well. And his entire, the Christ myth, the parable of his life, that trajectory is very much what Pisces is about. Compassion and love, and ultimately Christ's ultimate surrender to the very forces that found him weak and disempowered is what that surrender that he ultimately gave into, of allowing them to kill him, was what ultimately made him who he is today, and the influence that he has for people everywhere. Even if, like, for me, I'm not Christian, but it doesn't matter, because you don't have to associate him to the religion, in my opinion. In spirituality, we talk often about the esoteric, but what we don't realize is there are actually 3 levels of spirituality. Where most of us exist is the exoteric, and then we have the second level, which is the mesoteric, and the top level, which is the esoteric. And the esoteric is really reserved for the spiritual masters, the people who can invoke certain understandings through symbols alone. So most of us are not going to get there, but most of the world is actually in the lower level, which is the exoteric, in which they believe in religion and believe that one religion is better than the other, and there are different gods, and this God is better than your God, and my God is better than your God, and you're bad and I'm good. And when we move into the mesoteric is objective. There is one God. There is no wrong or right. It is all relative. And this is something that in this day and age we have a really hard time understanding. Gate 37 is ultimately about the imbalance of the yin and yang, the feminine and masculine in our society as it stands today. There is a change that's happening in our understanding of the feminine. There has been this idea that there is a weakness in women because they're not as physically strong. And so we kind of equated strength to physical strength. This is changing on a very deep collective level. And it's actually changing through men. And so for women to try to show the power of the divine feminine through saying we are as strong as men physically, or we are capable in the same ways, is actually a misnomer, because we are actually very equally as strong, but in very different ways, equally as powerful, but in very different ways. But this is what gate 37, Gene Keys 37 is about. And it's only through the masculine's understanding that it is now time to serve the feminine, to serve feminine power, that we will eventually move away from religion. Because the divine feminine is embodiment. It's spirituality. It's not religion. Religion is very masculine. It's ordered. If we think about the fact that we are turning to the divine feminine in all of us, right? This is not just women. And reestablishing a balance between the feminine and masculine in a way that is more balanced.
Hey guys, Editing Jazz here. While I was editing this video, I actually came across this documentary named Soul Heal, and it features a Jungian psychoanalyst named James Hollis, whom I really admire and I highly recommend his books. This documentary is about the challenges that men face regarding femininity and masculinity in today's world, and so I just felt like I really wanted to add this in here in case that calls to anyone, because it called to me as well. So I'll have the link to the documentary linked down below.
In doing so, we create, this is why it's called family alchemy, and this is why in the I Ching, gate 37, the I Ching 37 is actually called the perseverance of the woman furthers. But it's about the fact that the foundation of the family is the relationship between the husband and the wife. And the tie that holds the family together lies in the loyalty and the perseverance of the wife. Her place is within, while that of the husband is without. And it talks about how in the family unit, there must be this balance. And in the Gene Keys, Richard Rudd talks about the fact that there can't be balance as long as both the husband and the wife, and I'm using those terms husband and wife figuratively, okay? So as long as the parents don't have that balance and respect for each other's strengths, that child will be imbalanced in some way. And in this family unit, when it begins that the family unit is balanced, that is when we can have balance within our communities, within the global communities that we live in, the collective. But when we don't have it within our own hearts and then within our own homes, then we can't have that effect and change society. And so this is why for a long time I was very much into activism, and I still am, and I think you should be. But as many different frameworks say, it's important to make sure that the changes are happening first within you, then within your home, before you can go out in the world and really affect others. Because before then, the words feel a little empty. They're not backed up by your own conduct. And we can feel that. And we are moving into this space of embodiment, right? I talked about this with the North Node and South Node moving into Virgo and Pisces, is that we are moving away from information and intellect and moving into embodiment. How much do I actually live what I say? And that is where the true power is going to come from, rather than the people who have the knowledge but don't have the ability to actually live that way, which is very, very common. And it's not a bad thing, because I think it's very normal for us to stay in the mind and to say, yes, I know this, I know what I'm supposed to do, I know what I'm supposed to do, but then to embody it is a whole different undertaking. It's scary, it takes courage. It's walking into that unknown. It's walking away from what is known and actually moving into this path that isn't so laid out for us. And it's easier to do that in our imagination, right, Pisces? It's easier to imagine this rather than to actually take the steps. But as I said, this deacon is signified by the Eight of Cups, in which he actually leaves. He has a realization that something is not working, and he actually leaves. I want to read something by Susan Chang. The Eight of Cups can be a place of great uncertainty and doubt. This is only a problem if you're committed to following the plan at all costs. If you can, take a step back, leaving behind eight cups worth of past assumptions. Imagine you are floating in the sea of the whole universe as your problem, whatever it is, diminishes to a tiny point and then pop, extinguishes itself. In the amniotic darkness, let go of the fear that anything could happen and open up to the wonder and awe. Indeed, anything could happen. So this is what this new moon is about for me. What I will say is that there is a strong theme right now in our sky of autonomy in our relationships in multiple areas. And the divine feminine asteroid herself, Lilith, is involved. The dark feminine, I should say. There are a lot of themes of our relationships changing and transforming and figuring out if, as we enter this new path into the unknown, the people surrounding us, our families, our friends, our partners, our business partners, our groups of friends, communities, our organizations, are going with us here. And it's a risk of standing up for yourself in relationships, maybe in ways you've never done before, that is what is necessary to see if this relationship can withstand the changes that are happening deep within you and deep within the other people as well. Don't hold yourself back. Stand up for yourself. Not because you want to hurt the other person or you want to stick it to them, but because you need to figure out if this person is there with you, really there with you, with where you are now. Venus going retrograde just a couple of days after this new moon is going to really give us the opportunity, especially in Aries, while Mars is in its fall, is going to give us the opportunity to really reflect on that. Mars has just come out of its retrograde too, so it's moving very slowly. So our two relational planets are really moving slowly. They're kind of at a standstill. Many people, especially Venusian people, so Libra, Taurus specifically, are definitely at the standstill of what is happening in these relationships. Is this happening or not? I would say probably Aries as well. So how do we go forward from here? Well, you set an intention. Where is Pisces in your chart? And of course, we'll talk about this in the all signs. Where is Pisces in your chart? And where are you moving away from something that has kept you overwhelmed and saturated to the point of knowing that it can no longer go on like this? You have to walk away from something. The thing is this thing is evolving over the next several years. And I don't think that you recognize, like Susan said, if you imagine this problem drifting away into the ocean, which is Pisces, Neptune, right? And just extinguishing itself. And then anything can happen. This is the power of Pisces, of the 12th house, is that, as Terence McKenna says, that you throw yourself into the abyss and you realize that it's a feather bed. Let me know how this resonates for you guys. I'll see you next time. For my Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising, man, everything I talked about in the beginning about Pisces themes, Neptunian themes, is really profoundly impacting you. You've got a lot of stuff happening in your 12th house, and I wonder how your spirituality is transforming right now, how your emotions are transforming right now. The 12th house is an area of healing, solitude, meditation, spirituality, isolated places. It's also overseas travel. I mean, maybe a lot of you guys are wondering if there is something further away for you, if there is a place that you would like to visit or live that is much different than the place that you are now. It doesn't necessarily have to be overseas, but generally it is. Because this is starting a new year-long process, and you're going to have some culmination of it with the lunar eclipse in 6 months in Virgo. But you're going to have eclipses on this axis until 2027. You know, the 12th house is your house of dreams and your subconscious too. So maybe you're doing a lot of work around there, or you have a dream journal and you're really, really feeling connected to your dreams and to your faith, and you ultimately want to do something with that regarding work, because that's the 6th house axis, right? Maybe all of this stuff is changing your day to day. Maybe you're meditating more. Maybe your day looks different because you have done all this self-undoing work, and you've looked at your limiting beliefs and done the subconscious work necessary in order to transform your life. There's something brewing here. Like, it feels like you guys are in this cocoon that I know may not feel super comfortable, but it is wanting to bring something absolutely new. And I feel like this is such a great time to do any sort of spiritual work, meditation, solitude, retreat, anything that pertains to spirituality for you. When we have the Venus-Neptune conjunction, after Venus goes retrograde and then it goes back into Aries again, there's some sort of like a karmic blessing that wants to come to you in this 12th house. And so if you work hard at it now, I really think that you guys are transforming on a super deep level. Like, I am really excited to see how Aries collectively transform. And I've been noticing the last several months my readings for Aries have gotten longer because generally wronger. I hope they're not wronger. Generally for Aries and Capricorn, my readings are quite short because your guys' energy is very like, okay, like what's happening. But recently I felt the need to speak to you guys specifically a lot more, but Capricorn as well. So I pulled a empowerment card for you guys, and I got the Light of Forgiveness. It says, I forgive myself and others. In forgiving, I free myself. I bounce back from negative emotions and do not linger in dark places. My life is a light that chases away shadows. Okay, well, as a Jungian person here, I'm going to say we don't want to chase away shadows, okay? I like this empowerment card. And I think it talks a lot about the lingering in dark places because the 12th house and the 4th house where you've had Mars in and out of, I just did a video about that for 6-7 months. Those are dark places. The 4th house is the darkest part of your chart, and the 12th house is unseeable from your 1st house. So it's a dark place. That's why it rules your subconscious. But I will say that you can have a light that shines on your shadows, right? Because we don't want to chase them away because then they chase us. We need to face them. I was just reading a book, and this girl was talking about, this girl was a full-fledged woman, was talking about how she had this reoccurring dream for years, and it was like somebody following her, and she imagined that it was like some sort of a monster. And finally, after years of having this dream, in her dream, she finally turned around and looked at him, and it was just like a normal looking dude. And then she never had the dream again. So I feel like for you guys are having to face some really deep, dark aspects of the self or of the shadow, these like subconscious beliefs that are transformative, but also not an easy place to go into because it is the unknown, right? Like I talked about in the beginning of the video with the 8 of Cups, like this is walking into the unknown. And you guys have that kind of full energy, but not in this mystical way generally. You're just kind of like, yeah, let's see what happens. But when it's, you can, I think you can sense in your bones that whatever unknown you're walking into right now is truly a different life in a lot of ways. Yeah, I see you guys learning more, and in doing all the spiritual work and learning more, I honestly do see something changing in your job because of this newfound spiritual belief, but the emphasis is not on the work. The emphasis is on the spiritual changes that are happening behind the work. So let me know how this resonates for you guys. I'll see you next time. Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You guys have this new moon happening in Pisces in your 11th house. Your 11th house is a house of your friendships, groups, communities, organizations that you belong to. It's also the house of your hopes and wishes for the future. So it's you looking out and seeing the vision of your life. Now, I talked about this in my Mars and Cancer video, but I really do think you guys are inviting in a new community of people, and these people are probably more spiritual. And generally, these are organizations, someplace maybe like humanitarianism, or a community, maybe an online community, because the 11th house can be technology and Aquarius can be the internet. Maybe there's online communities for you. You can't help but feel as though not only are your benefactors and your social networks changing, but you are actually really changing through your career because you've got Pluto there. And you're changing because, this change is happening because you're changing. The way that you're expressing yourself in the world is absolutely changing, and therefore your hopes and visions for the future have to change. You've got Venus going, your ruler, in Aries right now. It's going to be going retrograde next month, which is going to be a very, very powerful time for you guys to reevaluate your partnerships, reevaluate your friendships, because it's going to go back into the 11th house. So you're going to have even more planets in your 11th house. I do think that specifically in April, you're going to have some sort of a karmic blessing happening with this community, this new environment that you're putting yourself into, the new benefactors, the new groups that you have, because Venus will be conjuncting the North Node again in that part of your chart where it's already conjunct once, it's going to conjunct it again too. But Venus being in your 12th house right now maybe doing a lot of the work behind the scenes. Whatever you're creating is not quite ready yet to come out, right? Until Venus moves into Taurus, which will be in the next few months. So probably just in time for your guys' season, actually. So whatever you're doing right now, whatever you're working on is definitely in the background. But as I said in the beginning of this video, I do think that you guys are, along with some other signs, experiencing the changes in relationships quite a lot. So let's see what empowerment card I have for you guys. Candle of Hope. I love that because the 11th house is hope. It's hopes and wishes for the future. And when we talk about the major arcana, the star card is associated to Aquarius, and it is about having hope. It's a beacon of hope. So I love that you guys got this. Wow, how amazing. I am hopeful. Every day I make the choice to be positive. No matter what happens around me, I guard the flame of faith within. At the moment when all feels lost and I face a dead end, hope lights a new way. I wonder if you guys are feeling that there is something that feels lost and you're having to guard that flame of faith within, with Venus, your ruler, in the 12th house of faith and spirituality. And of course, Pisces has so much to do with spirituality and faith as well. So, and it's ruler in your 11th house. So I think that in order for you guys to go into this new vision, to invite the new people into your life that you need to invite, you have to have this hope. You have to have faith that if things aren't going the way that you'd like right now, you have to have the faith that it's going to get better, because, you know, Jupiter is in your 2nd house, expanding your sense of self-worth and trying to expand money as well that's coming to you. But you can only do that if there is expansion of the self-worth, right? You can't hold on to money energetically if you are not feeling that you are worthy of it. And of course, Uranus is finishing up its tour in your 1st house. So lots of changes for you guys. And I want you to think back from like April to June of 2024, what was happening within yourself and your identity, because Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, is in the same degree that it was around that time. So what changes were happening then? What upheavals were happening then in your sense of identity and self? Possibly relationships too, because it always looks to the opposite house. Let me know how this resonates for you guys. I'll see you next time. Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You guys have this new moon happening in your 10th house. This massive stellium of Sun, Moon, Saturn, Mercury, North Node, Neptune. And then next month, Venus is going to go back in, or actually in April, it's going to go back into Pisces. Wow. Or actually, is it March? We'll talk about that when it comes there. I have a video that I'm going to do on Venus retrograde, which is happening March 1st. But your ruler being in Pisces right now is myself being a Gemini Sun. If you watch the first part of the video, I talked about how this has been making me not be able to articulate words very well, and it's been very interesting, and I feel very dreamy and tired. So especially if you're a Gemini rising, maybe you're feeling this too. But I also feel like this huge stellium in your 10th house of career, legacy, reputation, social service to the world, authority figures and bosses, your life direction. I feel like this is really pushing you guys towards something new. And I feel like for a lot of you guys over the next couple of years, the emphasis is really going to be on your career and what authority you're stepping into. But I do also see for some of you guys that this may require some sort of a move or some sort of a change within the family home or within the family structure. But the emphasis is going to be on you guys. And I talked about this in my Mars Cancer video too. It's like you guys are wanting more autonomy and freedom in your work environment. And the universe is wanting you to step into that with Jupiter in your 1st house and all this stuff in your 10th. I mean, it's lighting up your direction, a new beginning for you in career. Uranus is in your 12th house currently still, and it has been there for many years now. It's going to be moving out and going into your sign this year. So when Uranus moves into your sign, you're entering a 7-year period of massive change. You're not going to recognize yourself after Uranus leaves your first house. When you look back to 2025, when it first entered your first house, you're not going to recognize yourself. So this is a preparation. I really am excited for Geminis. I feel like there's a lot of things changing, but it wants you to take control because, you know, as a mutable air sign, we are sometimes quite feathery, like a feather in the wind. But the universe right now is not supporting that. It wants you to make decisions. It wants you to choose your direction and not let life happen to you and happen for you. Let's see what card we have for you for the empowerment card. That's what I'm saying. The power of yang. The power of yang. I am in control of my future. I am a person who takes action with intention. I endure difficulty in strength, knowing that the result of perseverance is success. The 10th house is success. Like the sun, I radiate confidence as success is pulled into my orbit. I will be victorious based on my merit, not the whims of chance. That's literally what I just said. Oh my God, you gotta love it sometimes, you know? I don't have anything else to say because that's literally how I feel. It's not, you have to make life happen for you right now and not to you. Geminis, let me know how that resonates. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like my content. I'll see you guys next time. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising. You guys have this new moon in Pisces happening in your 9th house. Your 9th house is your beliefs. It's your philosophy of life, where you find truth and meaning and purpose in your life. It's also higher education, litigation, law, religion, mentors, spiritual mentors. It's also a travel house. So there are some signs that will have a higher probability of moving in the next 2 years or traveling more. You don't have to move. Actually, with you guys, it's less so moving, but it could be because you have the South Node in the 3rd, which means that changes could be happening in your immediate environment. This is as a result of you growing and expanding. And so maybe you're traveling more. Maybe you're exploring new philosophies. Maybe you're getting new mentors, spiritual mentors. Maybe you're going into some sort of a higher education program that requires you to relocate somewhere. This is a powerful time for you guys to dive into spiritual philosophies, spiritual learning and understanding. This new moon is starting this new process of expanding your consciousness. And we talked about in my Mars and Cancer video, Mars being in your guys' sign and really pushing you to stand up for yourself and to not be so forgiving that you lose and abandon you, right? Jupiter is in your 12th house, expanding. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. You guys have all this Piscean stuff, which is very spiritual, in your 9th house, which is Jupiter house of spirituality and religion. And then you have Jupiter in your 12th house, expanding your sense of connection to the divinity, to solitude, and wanting you to really step into this time where it's going to be about you soon. Jupiter is going to move into your sign in June, I believe. And man, oh man, Jupiter loves being in your sign. It's exalted there. And it's going to be time for you to really shine. But right now, you're more so doing the work still. And you will see the results of that. Let's see what we have for your empowerment card. Yeah, this very much is like the 9th house. Because the 9th house, like I said, it's about trips. It's about journeys. It's about expanding your consciousness, possibly through travel or through knowledge and learning. The journey is the way. As I walk, I embrace the journey. I am present in every moment. I accept happiness as well as suffering. I appreciate the blessings of today while dreaming of the victories of tomorrow. I love that it says, I accept happiness as well as suffering, because sometimes I feel like you get used to the suffering. And I don't know, do I have any Cancerian INFPs out there? I'm an INFP to the core. I tried for many years when I was younger to test out of it, but nope, alas, I am an INFP. Now I love it. I love being an INFP. But, or if you're an Enneagram 4, which I also am, it just makes me feel like that kind of energy that Cancerians may feel a lot of times, where they can get like almost addicted to the pain because they're so emotional. And especially if you have trauma in your life, or yeah, it's almost like you don't allow yourself to feel pleasure as much as you do the pain and the hurt, but you're also sensitive to pleasure and to all of the positive emotions as well. So I just love that it says, like, I accept the happiness too. Don't forget to feel those things too. Even when the journey feels difficult, we can always find glimpses of happiness and of positivity that we can embrace and really allow ourselves to swim in that, even if it's only for a minute or two. So Cancers, let me know, what journey are you on? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. This is going to culminate in an eclipse in 6 months. So we'll see what you guys are up to and how it's going to pan out for you. I'll see you guys next time. Leo, sun, moon, and rising. This new moon is happening in your 8th house. 8th house is about intimacy, shared finances, shared values, the give and take in partnerships. This is a healing house, psychology, a house of the occult as well, and mystery, and of course, a house of transformation. Now, I talked about this in my Mars and Cancer video quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit, but I did talk about it. Because you guys have Mars in your 12th, and then you have this conglomerate of things happening in your 8th house, and this massive stellium here is pushing you to change. I mean, having so many planets in the 8th house, it's like psychologically you cannot say the same. Something has to give, something has to change. And for you guys, it really could be in your relationships, because the 8th house is a deeply emotional house. Yes, it is also about other people's money. So you could be starting a new journey in which other people are giving you money, or in the next 6 months, you could be gaining some sort of money that isn't yours. So maybe you win something in a lawsuit. Maybe the insurance gives you a refund. Maybe you get a huge tax refund you weren't expecting. Something like that. Like money just being given to you. That could be very likely happening, actually, now that I think about it, because in the next 6 months, because Venus is going to go back into Pisces in your 8th house and conjunct the North Node again. Around that time, you could be getting some sort of a little cosmic blessing. I have a video I'm going to do on Venus retrograde, so we'll talk about that a little bit then. But yeah, you guys are in the depths of something huge right now. Like, I feel like it's hard for Leos to, especially Leo risings, because you're ruled by the sun, that's your ruler, for that sun to be in Pisces and then in the 8th house with all these other things, because it can't shine as well outwardly, but where it does shine is psychology and healing. Put your energy and your brightness into those things. Your relationships, healing addictions, shared finances, shared values, the give and take of relationships, and emotional intimacy with other people. Let's see what your empowerment card is. Staircase of knowledge. Interesting. I feel like this is picking up on your 9th house things, because you guys are going to have Saturn and Neptune conjunct in your 9th house at 0 degrees of Aries in February next year, but they're going to both move into Aries this year. Actually, Neptune's moving there on March 30th. And then Saturn follows shortly thereafter, I believe in May. The 9th house is higher education and knowledge, higher knowledge, philosophy. So I do feel like Leos are going to enter a new, more expansive learning journey over the next several years. But maybe something is picking up. I mean, you do have Venus in that part of your chart right now, but let's see what it says. It says, I believe in continuous learning. Each day is an opportunity to grow my knowledge. Each lesson is a step on the staircase to my success. Maybe this knowledge has to do with all the things I just said in the 9th house, but I also feel like you're learning a lot about intimacy. You're learning a lot about connection, connecting to other people. You're learning a lot about yourself in that process. And like I said, it could be a very healing time for you guys. Over the next 6 months, it's going to culminate, like I said, with a full moon lunar eclipse in your 8th house. So this could really be financial for you guys. I really do think something is changing financially for you. Of course it is, because you got the South Node in the 2nd house. So we've talked about that plenty of times. But also in the next 6 months specifically, something is going to change. You might have a new job. Your partner might have a new job, a new way of making money. Maybe that doesn't mean that you lose one job and get another, but a new way of making money. So Leos, let me know how this resonates. I'll see you guys next time. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising. This new moon is happening for you guys in your 7th house of relationships, one-on-one relationships, business partnerships, contractual agreements, romantic relationships, all the relationships that are equal, so one-to-one relationships. We've been talking about this a lot, right? Since the North Node moved into your 7th house, and then with Mars moving direct in your 11th house, I talked about this part of your chart a little bit too. Massive stellium here. I mean, it's very clear to me with the setup of your chart right now that relationships and social networks are a big part of what you're doing right now and what you're focused on right now and where you're growing and evolving. And you've got Jupiter in the 10th house, which is about legacy and your career, your social service. So even though the 10th house is not a social house, it's where you are of service to others in a big way. And then Pluto in your 6th house, where you are in service to others in a more intimate way or a more personal way. So social service, and relationships. Big themes for you right now. And obviously with the South Node in your 1st house, as we've talked about a lot, it is really a loosening on your grips of your current identity. So this new moon is going to culminate in a lunar eclipse in Pisces in about 6 months. So there are going to be destined and fated events that come from this. Whatever intention you're setting, whatever is starting around this time is going to have big impacts for you and your relationships. And really the next year and a half, that's what it's about, right? Just ask your Aries and Libra people. Specifically for you guys, it would be similar to what Libras just went through for the last year and a half. The emphasis being a lot of times when we have North Node in the 7th, it seems like other people in our lives are growing and the evolution is theirs, and we're like a witness to it with the South Node in the 1st house. So if you have a business partner or you have a romantic partner or a best friend, someone you're really close with, you kind of see them growing and it becomes more about them than you. And all the meanwhile with the South Node in your 1st house, you are actually like stripping away identity. So it's this time where you can feel a little down, but you really don't have to, because this is a cleaning process, okay? My Virgos, you guys like to be stripped. You guys like to be organized and clean, especially Virgo risings. Not so much Virgo suns, but a little bit Virgo suns too. And this is what the South Node is doing, and it's asking for you to have a spiritual outlook on that. So the empowerment card I pulled for you guys is the gravity of excellence. I feel like that is absolutely perfect for you guys. Also, your ruler right now is in Pisces, which is very debilitated. And so you guys may be feeling the same things that like Geminis are feeling, in the sense that like things feel really confusing, things are unclear, maybe you're having a hard time articulating your words as well. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I've been having issues with that for like 4 years though. So, but specifically with Mercury and Pisces, ever since it's been in there, I'm just like, where am I? You know? Okay, it says, I pursue excellence. I am not paralyzed by perfection, but my excellence is evident in every effort. This mindset pulls success to me like gravity. The gravity of excellence. Being paralyzed by perfection is literally written for Virgos. This is a very Virgoan theme. There is a tendency to be paralyzed by the idea that one is not perfect. And it's interesting because you give so much grace to other people's imperfections, but you so rarely give yourself the same grace that you give others. And I think that this is important, is that you're always and I feel like a lot of Virgos like always want to be better. They're always on this quest for self-improvement. And that's one of the things I love about Virgos, because I very much relate to that. But there is no perfection, right? And as long as you're pursuing excellence and that is the journey for you, is in the pursuit, right? And not becoming this perfect being. That's how you pull that Jupiterian success from your 10th house down to you like gravity. The more you pursue what you love and the excellence, whatever that means to you, the more that it will come to you, as long as you're not doing it in secretly expecting something to come. You know, like I think that we all kind of do that sometimes. Like, yeah, I'm just in the pursuit. I'm not a good winker. But hold on, I think this eye's better. No, it's not. Okay. But yeah, I think a lot of us do that, and this is calling for something different. Yeah. So Virgos, let me know how this resonates for you. What's going on with your relationships? How are your partners in your life behaving? Have you seen this? I mean, the North Node has only been in here for about 6 weeks now, maybe a little less, but you may have already started feeling the effects of that. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you guys next time. Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This new moon is happening in your 6th house. Man, the amount of people that I hear, Libra people, that I know personally, as well as the comments that I received, that are feeling this stagnation in their career. Your ascendant ruler is in debilitation right now, getting ready to go retrograde just days after this new moon. And the ruler of that sign, Aries, Mars, is in its fall, not doing so hot, but at least it's direct now, so that's good. Yeah, I mean, Libras, I really feel for you guys because it's like you finally get the South Node out of your sign, which I know many of you guys struggled with, but I hope that now you can understand why things happened the way they did, why your identity had to change, why you had to go through those changes in your relationships. But now your ruling planet is going through these things again. So yeah, I feel for you guys, but I also really, really believe that because you guys are the sign of relationships and you rule the house of relationships and one-on-one partnerships, you have a tall order in helping us evolve collectively in our relational tendencies, which I talked about in the beginning part of the videos, is something that's very apparent in this moon cycle. And we've got right now Lilith in Libra with this new moon. And Lilith is the dark feminine. So it's coming out through our partnerships. The dark feminine is coming out through our partnerships. Parts of us that have felt repressed, and then Venus and Aries is like, yeah, I'm standing up for it. Like I don't want to be like this. I want to have my autonomy. I want to make sure that we're actually correct for each other and things like this. Conflict, yes. Anyways, let's get back to the new moon in your 6th house, because this is what I keep telling the Libra person that I live with. That I really feel like there is something major happening for you guys in terms of work. There could be a lot of changes in your work environment, or stagnation, or not knowing what you're doing. But with this cycle, it's going to culminate with a lunar eclipse in Pisces in September of this year, which is going to bring karmic dust and fated events around work, health and illness, pets, your daily responsibilities. And I do feel like this is going to be very positive. You have Venus North Node conjunction happening for the 3rd time on April 24th. I just feel like the next 6 months are going to really propel something forward for you guys. And if you leave a job, it's meant to be left. If you start a new job, it's meant to be started. You really have to trust in the unknown right now. You've got the South Node in the 12th house. The South Node in the 12th is very, very spiritual, letting go of old subconscious beliefs that have held you back in your work, that have kept you in work environments that are not actually good for you, but you feel this sense of duty or responsibility or this need to be of service in some way that is not actually what your soul wants. And your soul is making sure that you are getting clear. If you're not feeling stuck and stagnant in your career as a Libra, that's fantastic, because it means that whatever you're in is aligned. But for most of you guys with the North Node here, it is going to be changing rapidly. Let's see what your empowerment card is. Yeah, this is exactly sacredness of mystery. This is the 12th house. I am at peace with uncertainty. I trust the benevolence of God and the abundance of the universe. I embrace the sacredness of mystery. I have the knowledge I need today, and that is enough. The benevolence of God and the abundance of the universe, which is the 12th house. This is the house of divinity. and it's opposing all of this stuff that's happening in your sixth. I just, like, I feel like if you're a Libran who has a more spiritual tendency, this may hit easier for you guys because you, and I just saw you have Jupiter in the ninth, right? So Jupiter being in the ninth is like the benevolence of spirit, right? And knowing that you have the knowledge that you need today and that is enough. So if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know where you're headed with your work situation, with your health, you are being called to a deeper level of trust. And that's what this is about. Even though it's happening in your physical realm, which is where it's meant to, underlying that there is a trust that the universe is asking for you. If you don't understand, Libras love to understand, right? The logical sign. What's happening right now may be something that you don't quite understand yet. Can you let that be okay? Libras, let me know what your plans are for your sixth house things. What are your intentions for this new year-long / 6-month cycle? See you guys next time. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. You guys have this new moon stellium of Pisces points and planets in your 5th house of creativity, pleasure, love, romance, self-expression, entertainment. We talked about this a little bit in the Mars direct video about what's happening here. But ultimately, this is starting off a year-long cycle, which will be culminated in 6 months surrounding those 5th house things. And the culmination will actually be a lunar eclipse in Pisces in this part of your chart. So fated changes, destined changes, karmic changes here. Some of you guys are going through a massive undertaking in some sort of creative field. Maybe the way that you love yourself and others is rapidly changing. You're putting yourself in the center. I feel like when Jupiter was in your 7th house of Taurus up until last year, there was a lot of expansion in your partnerships or expansion with other people in your life. And you still have Uranus in this part of your chart, which is shaking up your relationships and making the people around you possibly changing a lot still. And I wonder if it's been a long time since the spotlight has been on you as much. And so you've kind of just been like giving, which tends to happen with Scorpios. You guys are very giving people, even if people, others don't see that or whatever. As a Gemini, I feel like we're like the two signs that are like given the worst names in pop astrology, of course. So I relate to you there. But yeah, I feel like you guys are very giving people. And when it comes to love, you can be very, very, very self-sacrificial. So maybe this is something that's changing and you're learning to put yourself first. You're learning to put the spotlight on you and knowing that you can still give to others without having to sacrifice your self-love. And obviously this is something creative for you guys as well. It could be something creative that you guys do for business because it's squaring Jupiter in your 8th house. So whatever intention you're setting for the next 6 months / year, make sure that you are having the big vision, yes, and having a big imagination about it, but also not getting too carried away and making sure that it's something that's realistic for you, especially financially. And Venus is in your 6th house and it's going back into your 5th. I just feel like something is going to pay off regarding the work that you've put in towards self-love or loving others and romance or creativity or finding joy and pleasure in your life again, especially around the end of April when we have that Venus North Node conjunction in your 5th house as well. Let's see what the empowerment card for you guys is. Universe of Abundance. That's kind of what I was, the giving nature. I am connected to the unlimited goodness of the universe. Everything that is happening now is happening for my ultimate good. I want to pull another one for you guys. I like that one a lot because it says universe of abundance. And as I was saying, it's like maybe you need to hear that for your own sense of self-love. You don't have to limit your giving just to other people. Are some of you guys feeling a little victim mentality? We got the Wheel of Life. I accept responsibility for my life. I am not a victim, but a hero. I cultivate positive thoughts and empowering words which steer my actions to success. My tongue is the wheel of my life and I am the driver. You know, I don't really think of Scorpio energy as being in a victim mindset. So I feel like when that is what's happening, it tells me that something as painful has happened. I feel like you guys are actually quite powerful people, but you're human as well, right? And you have very deep feelings. And so I wonder if something has happened recently that has, yeah, shaken that confidence. The wheel will turn. This is a season. If you've been going through a hard time, it's just a season and the wheel will turn and the fruition will come. I'm really excited for you guys actually with all this stuff happening in your fifth house. I really do feel like you're tapping into so much creativity and love and self-expression and learning to put yourself first. And I think that's what you guys need right now. So Scorpios, let me know what you guys are planning for this part of your chart in your fifth house. It's going to culminate in that lunar eclipse in 6 months. What are you hoping to happen? What's been going on in your life? Let me know down below. I'll see you guys next time. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. You guys have this new moon and this Pisces stellium happening in your fourth house of home, foundations, emotional foundations, your parents, mother, your inner world, your sanctuary in here. Man, what is going on for you guys either in your deep emotional foundations or in your home? Something is happening in this part of your chart. There are so many forces that are joining together to change something, to move towards something different. Maybe for some of you guys, there are changes that are happening in your career that are reflecting the need for you to desire to move or to change your home situation in some way. With this new moon, there's going to be a culmination of the intentions that are started, the seeds that are planted with a lunar eclipse in Pisces in September of this year. So something fated, destined, karmic is happening within your fourth house around that time. And right now, you're just setting the intention, you're planting the seeds. So I want you to get really, really intentional about what you desire. Is there a new home situation that you want? Is there a new emotional, like, are you doing psychological and emotional healing? Because you've got Mars in the 8th house, which I talked about in my Mars direct video. You've got Jupiter in the 7th. So things could be expanding with your partner. Your partner could be growing in different ways, maybe in their career or in their sense of self. But the changes are in expansions happening maybe with your partner, or if you don't have a partner or you don't have a lot of close friends or business partnerships, it is trying to attract and magnetize to you people who are quite Jupiterian. But maybe this requires a change in you first. Maybe this requires a change in where you live. Let's see what your empowerment card is. Community of humanity. I am loved and appreciated by the people in my life. I give the love I want to receive. In faith, I send my love out, knowing in time I will receive it back. Wow, that's kind of what I was saying right now about the you give the love I want to receive, kind of about how you put yourself out there if you are single, even if you're in a relationship though, because even if you're in a relationship or you're single, the way that you put yourself out there and the love that you give is what is going to magnetize that same love back to you. So within a relationship, it's how do we treat the other person? And if we're not in a relationship, it's how am I treating the self, right? Because that is ultimately what is going to attract the people who vibrate on that same level of frequency to me, which is what you want. And within relationships, like I don't think people realize that in relationships, you can do the same thing. Not always, right? Because it depends on the other person, but in relatively healthy relationships, if you start treating yourself a different way and start giving them the love that you give yourself first in a more expansive way, it comes back to you. And your partner can change and your relationship can change. So I think though that all of this stuff is requiring a really deep internal emotional reservoir that you're tapping into right now. And I really feel like that love has to begin with the self. Maybe a lot of you guys are doing like reparenting yourself. Maybe there were aspects of your childhood, like most of us, that were traumatic or just unpleasant for you. And this is a time that you can focus on being the best parent for you, maybe the one that you never had. And learning to love and forgive our parents if they weren't able to show up the way that we needed them to. Sag, let me know what is going on in this 4th house. Let me know how you resonate. I'll see you guys next time. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You guys have this stellium Pisces new moon happening in your 3rd house of communication, thoughts, neighbors, siblings, cousins, your immediate surroundings, learning, writing, reading, skills, your day-to-day. So maybe you guys are embarking on more adventures recently, or in the next 6 months, you guys want to be embarking on more adventures. When you have the North Node in the 3rd house, it really makes you want to explore more. And it may be exploring in not such a big way, although you have the South Node in the 9th, but you could be exploring by car more often, or just taking more trips than usual here and there, because there is just a busyness in your day-to-day environment. And like I said, this could also be in some level spiritual as well. So over the next 6 months, what do you want? Do you want to be taking more trips? Do you want to learn a new skill, maybe one that's spiritual or creative or imaginative? Do you want to work on learning new skills? I could see that for a lot of you guys that you'd be wanting to learn something because you have this 3rd, 9th axis. You might be wanting to start a course or something smaller. I don't really see higher education for most of you guys, but the 9th house is indicated there. And Saturn, your ruler, is in this part of your chart. So there's so much focus and emphasis on your immediate surroundings. Like, you're not so focused right now on what's happening out in the world, but what's happening in your immediate environment with you, with the people you live with your neighbors, siblings, cousins, your own life, the day-to-day things that happen in your own life. So what seed do you want to plant that will culminate in a lunar eclipse in this part of your chart in September? When that happens, there's going to be karmic, fated, destined changes in your immediate environment in all those 3rd house things. So whatever you intend on doing now is going to culminate and be impactful for you in the next 6 months. And this is going to be a year-long cycle. Let's see what empowerment card we have for you. Ancestral wisdom. I am worthy. I carry within myself the potential of all the lessons and strength of 10,000 ancestors who came before me. I will trust myself, my intuition, and my wisdom. I wonder if with all this Piscean energy in your 3rd house, you guys are getting this hit of like intuition and this sense of ancient wisdom, because Pisces is connected to divinity and it rules your 3rd house generally, but you don't normally have so many planets here. I wonder if this new skill, this new way of thinking, this new way of writing is increasing your trust in yourself through garnering access to this kind of deep wisdom that maybe you hadn't had access to before. Maybe you're tapping into intuition in a way that you didn't think was possible because you're so earthy. But I don't know, I always feel like, you have Pisces on the 3rd house cusp as a Capricorn rising specifically. And so you are naturally somewhat attuned to wisdom and intuition, but maybe you just don't feel that. And all of this stuff in Pisces in that 3rd house right now is trying to get you to see that now. So Capricorns, let me know how this resonates. What is going on in this 3rd house of yours? What seeds are you planting for the next 6 months to a year? I'll see you guys next time. Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This new moon is happening in your 2nd house of self-worth, self-esteem, money, material resources, income. This is a major part of your life for the next year and a half, right? We've talked about it a lot recently. With this new moon, you really get an opportunity to set an intention, and it's going to culminate in a lunar eclipse in Pisces in September of this year, which means that the culmination of what you begin now is going to be quite impactful in your life because it's going to have the nodes sitting with it, the nodes of karma, destiny, and fate. Something is changing in the way that you use money and material resources. I feel as though some of you guys could be getting a new job or a new way of making money in the next couple of months even, because Venus will conjunct the North Node in your second house at the end of April. The third time it's going to be conjunct in that part of your chart. I do feel like something is really changing for you guys materially. And for some of you guys, it could be a new job. Oftentimes, the second house, it's about money from generally like our own businesses. So maybe you guys are really desiring to start your own business, start a side hustle, and this is going to culminate into something bigger than you ever imagined. Because like I said, you have Mars in the 6th in my Mars direct video, which is ushering you to work hard towards something that really has meaning and value for you. I wonder if any of you guys who have been feeling like blockages with money or self-worth and self-value are going to be able to show yourself that you can do something that you didn't think you could do before. Because all of this stuff happening in your second house is almost like bringing this sort of divine help into putting you out in the world in a way that's service driven for humanity and can help people transform their sense of value and money through your embodiment of it. Yeah, I don't know. I can feel when I tap into your energy, the power of this Pluto in your first house. Let's see what the empowerment card is. Sacred Fire. Why do I feel like I've gotten this for you guys recently? Guys, I think I really got this for you guys recently. Let me know below if you remember this, if you've watched my other videos. I am filled with passion. My energy is like a bonfire burning within. I feel energy flow through my being, and I focus this power to achieve my goals today. Yeah, you know, Mars loves being in the 6th house. So maybe you are feeling this energy flowing through your being, especially now that it's direct. And this focuses your power to achieve your goals today because you have the 2nd and the 6th house. These are money houses. These are service houses. These are work houses. Collectively, economically, things are not good. Okay? Like, I mean, in my opinion. I mean, no, is it really my opinion though? It's pretty blatantly obvious. And I just feel like the way that Aquarius can actually help change the world, like I talked about this in the first part of the video, it's like it starts with the self, yes. And so it's like this new paradigm that you are stepping into is going to show people around money, this new paradigm around money and your self-worth and how you handle finances in general is going to open up this paradigm for other people to see that and see that they can do it that way too. Like, I feel like the level of integrity that you guys need to have right now is super, super high in everything that you do because a lot of eyes are on you. Let me know how this resonates. What are you guys starting this new moon in Pisces? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you next time. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. This new moon is in your first house. I've been talking about this a lot. I talked about it in my Mars direct video as well. Things are about you. You are expressing yourself. You are breaking boundaries of who you thought you were. And if you don't feel that yet, it's okay because the nodes just move into your axis. So you have a year and a half. You're gonna start feeling this. In the beginning of the video, I wrote a little poem to you guys. So if you guys haven't listened to that, please do, just so you know that how I feel about you guys and how much I love you guys. But I really do feel like, okay, who do you want to be? Like, the world is your oyster. What do you want? What do you want out of this life? Who do you want to be? What do you want to create? What beginnings do you want to have? What do you want your appearance to be? How do you want others to perceive you? How do you want to perceive others? How do you want to see the world? What perspective do you want to have? These are all things that are going to be a part of your life, the questions that are going to be a part of your life over the next year and a half. But specifically right now, Like I said in my Mars video, because you not only have all this stuff in your first, but you have this stuff in your fifth. You have the stuff. You have Mars in your fifth, and it's now direct. These are dharmic houses. What is your path? What are you here to do? Not what job, not what career. What is your soul's purpose? And maybe it can come out through a job, fine, but it doesn't have to. I feel like for you guys, the emphasis is more on you, and when you become the person you want to be, you will attract the things that need to come your way. Let's see what empowerment card is for you guys. Strings of destiny. Yeah, because, you know, this new moon is going to be culminated with a full moon lunar eclipse in your sign in September, which is destiny, fate, karma, because it's with the nodes. So whatever you begin now will have a karmic, destined, fated culmination in 6 months. And you got the string of destiny. That's amazing. And the North Node being in your sign. Okay. I weave the strings of my own destiny. I imagine my future into reality. I attract wisdom, cultivate strength, and today I will take the next step in my journey. Yes, you weave, that's what I was saying. You weave the strings of your own destiny. You guys need to listen to the first part, because I talk a lot about how Pisces, like, yes, you do have to work for it. You know, like, this idea that you can just like sit in your bed and imagine this beautiful life and it'll just come to you obviously is not true. I don't believe that you guys are not working for it though. I believe you are working for it, but it's not a linear road, right? Like people are like, just figure out what you want to do and you know what your life is about, and you're like, yeah, it doesn't look like this. You know, that's what the old world wants us to believe, that it's just like, oh, you go to school and then you do this and this is your life, and then we realize, no, that's not it. Like I need to be on this journey of self-discovery, and I want to love the journey in all aspects. And so that takes work. Yes, absolutely. You have to work towards what you want. But more than anything, if you are boxed in your old identities and you say, I want to change, but your current identity is married to your old habits and your old beliefs and your old behaviors, you can't get as far, right? This idea that when we change our identities, and I did this, I mean, I do this all the time, you have to stay consistent with it. But for example, for a long time, I told myself I'm not a gym person. And I was like, yeah, I'm just not a gym person. Like, I can't work out like that. I'm just not a gym person. And one day I sat there and I said, who says I'm not a gym person? Why am I not a gym person? If I want to be a gym person, I can choose to be a gym person. So every time I didn't want to go to the gym, I would tell myself, Jazz, you're a gym person. You go to the gym. And instead of just trying to change the behavior, I changed the identity behind the behavior. And that's what makes all of the difference. For you guys with all this stuff in your first house of identity, it's like an invitation for you guys to weave the strings of your own destiny, to imagine your future into reality, become what you believe in the world, become who you want to be, and the right things will line up for you. I absolutely 100% believe that for you guys. So let me know, what are you weaving? I'll see you guys next time.